Hello everybody, it's Greg from RewardBet. In this tutorial I want to walk you through RewardBet's screens and some of the features of RewardBet. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about individual features, such as reward level and edit prices and market gauge. They'll be covered off in separate tutorials. So this is an overview. It will give you some insights into some of the new features and hopefully some things that you didn't even know existed in RewardBet. So what we have here in front of us is the standard RewardBet screen. Be aware that depending on when you're watching this video, some things may change because we're constantly enhancing RewardBet. If you're already a member, if you're already logged in, this will be the screen that's presented to you. You can click on this next to go here and it will take you straight in. If you want to read a little bit more about RewardBet, there's a link here giving you some more information about our what we call RewardBet N+1 version. This here is of a little bit of interest. That's our version of our current software. So as we add new features, that number will keep on increasing, and we have plenty of features in the pipeline, so keep in tune there. The RewardBet guide and tips is also of importance, and here also we've got the feedback area and also the suggestion box, as we call it. So let's move on and log in to RewardBet. So we are already logged in. My account is hidden here for the tutorial. You can click that on and off, and also my LuxBet balance you can hide, which is $199.55, or you can show that. The default display when you log in is actually the next race to go. The countdown timer here for how far away that race is on the right. You can actually click on the button here. That will take you to the next race. So that's the second next race to go, and you can keep on scrolling through those races if you want. And indeed, clicking this left button here will take you back to the previous screen. Not always a previous race, it will be the previous screen depending on what you've been doing. This is a standard, what we call above the fold or the top of the RewardBet betting area. This is where you select your runners. It's important that when you're selecting a runner, you actually click roughly near the runner name. Well, let's just say in this green area here, because if you click in the white prices area, you invoke our special feature called our edit prices, which brings up another display for you here, so you can actually change the prices. But we go into more detail about that feature on our edit prices tutorial, so we won't dwell on that right now. So just keep in mind when you're clicking on your selections, you actually click pretty much in this green area. As you see here, as you choose your selections, our artificial intelligence module will automatically suggest a reward level for you based on the market gauge. As I add more selections, you'll see here that the market gauge increases, and hence the AI module is saying to us, well, to really get a fair return for your outlay here, you might need to handle your bets via the platinum or diamond reward levels. And again, we go into a lot more detail about that in our market gauge tutorial. If you want to refresh for prices, that'll go off to whichever operator you have selected as your price source and go and get the newest prices from them, which is worthwhile mentioning here. So as we move down the page, there's two important options. One is what we call the price source option here, and that is going to be spoken about again in a little bit more detail in another price source tutorial, but these are the current options we have. I generally have LuxBet fixed as my price source, mainly because the fixed prices are a better guide to how the market is, and at the end of the day you want accurate prices so that your estimated returns from RewardBet are more in tune with what you're going to get. I rarely use any of the individual totes, mainly because tote prices can be quite variable, and if I was going to use any tote price, I'd use the average tote price, which is the average of all three of these individual totes. Sometimes if I'm betting very close to the race, I may use the Betfair weighted average price, but typically you'll find that the LuxBet fixed or even sports bet fixed or tab fixed is probably the best option for you. Most customers have it set to Lux Bet fixed. A few people use Betfair WAP, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make too much difference what you choose. You really probably should just settle on one, and I'd suggest a fixed price operator. If you're looking at the only time you'd change it is if you're looking at a market where there aren't any fixed prices. We might better find one here. Here we go, it's a good example. So Golden Gate, which is overseas horse racing right now. It's early in the morning, and there's no Lux Bet prices available. So this is a very good example of what will happen. If I try and choose a runner, we get a warning error here saying that we have to choose another price source because RewardBet can't calculate anything if we don't have any prices to work off. So divide by zero error. So in this regard, if you were having a bet on a Golden Gate Race 10, it's simply a matter of finding a price source, which somebody does have some prices on now. Tab fixed, no luck there either. AAP pre-post being an overseas meeting also won't be any good. AAP stands for Australian Associated Press, so they're not going to be covering that. Betfair WAP, there's not going to be enough liquidity there. So realistically, you're probably looking at maybe something like average tote if you're betting an hour away from this race. And you can see here there are some prices there, but they're very misleading because we are talking about a overseas race here where there's probably only $500 in the pool. And you can see here that 87 cents is maybe only reflective of $1 or $2 on that runner. So that is how a price source can work. The other parts of the screen here is your total stake amount, which you can click on, and you can quickly adjust that if you wish. We can make it $20. We can also go use the arrows, and it will generally up and deduct a preset amount. As you get to a lower value, we're down around the $10 mark, we're going down in smaller amounts, and where you can see we're up around the 45s and 50s, we head up in higher percentages. The options here, this is your position selection module. This is very important. You should have that turned on to help you to use RewardBet. That will be covered off in our tutorial about how to place your bets with RewardBet, but that is something which you're going to be using a lot, especially if you do bankers or standouts with RewardBet. You might go, hey, I want to take a couple of runners for first. So that's what I've done there. I've chosen first, and I'll choose these two runners. And then you might go, well, I want to have these other runners as second and third only. And that's exactly how easy it is to do that type of bet. This line here is the estimated return. So the reward levels here give you what we call the return for getting one runner-up, which is, say, the winner, and getting three runners, which is, say, the trifecta. But obviously there's also you could get 2 out of 3. So the full estimated returns are shown here, just the minimum and maximum amount for screen real estate reasons. It is shown currently on our reward levels there, but we might add to that in the future. And if you have, of course, any suggestions about things that you want to add to RewardBet, it's simply just a matter of dropping us a line through our suggestion box. So as we move down the page here, and I'm just going to navigate to a better race. So if I click the home button, it'll always come back currently with my next scheduled races, or I can go to the view all meetings here. And when I view all meetings, I can see all the galloping meetings, harness meetings, and greyhound meetings. And indeed, clicking on these indicators here, I can expand and contract what is shown. So looking at the galloping meetings here, I can go into an Australian meeting at Goulburn. Clicking on the meeting always brings you up the first available race, and then it's just simply clicking over here to navigate to, say, race 5 that we might be interested in. So if I go ahead and choose some runners and just move down the screen, I'll just go through some of the other features of RewardBet. So on the right hand side here are your selection controls. You can turn on and off different features by clicking on these controls here, such as that, and I can actually hide them all. And there we go. We've actually reduced our screen to be quite minimal, you might call it. Typically, I would suggest that you can probably keep this control off. It's probably just as easy to navigate. The bet details I would always turn on. The reward level is, for some people, probably unnecessary. We actually show all this already up the top on this line here, so there's nothing really extra to be gained by having that turned on at the moment, so I generally turn it off. The options I keep on. This is a very important section of RewardBet. The options are split into two. There's options to do things that we display on the screen, which we call our display options, and then there's also the betting options. So I'll quickly talk about those, but we do talk about these in a little bit more detail in our tutorial on placing bets. The display options, I would always have the show selections populate control on. I think it's a very important feature, and that controls this line here. Okay, if you don't have that display option turned on, you're not going to see that line, and that will mean that in order to do standouts and bankers, you have to scroll down to this area here, which I'll talk about in a second. The show sorting and price source options, this allows you to put your, I've just turned it on, this allows you to add up here the price source and your sorting control option. Before, when I was changing price source, I had to come down here to change it around, and let's just change it back to LuxBet fixed. Whereas having that option turned on allows me to just minimize some of my scrolling. The sort option is quite important if you want, for example, sort horses by price rather than number. And here we go, all the horses, all the runners are now sorted by the favourite all the way down to the outsider. So some people may have it ordered by price, others may have it ordered by racebook number. Weight could be of interest to some people. That's a reverse order of a weight there, but realistically you're probably not going to do that. And I think most people just use number or price. I prefer number myself. So moving down here, the show sorting price source options that we just turned on and off. I generally have it off at the top of my screen because I don't really change those options very often. The hide drop bets from bet preview list, that's one of the betting options here. Typically I have that turned off. You probably don't really need to have it turned on, but that is to do with the drop option, which we'll talk about in the how to place a bet tutorial. Confirm bet submission is always very important. I think it's worthwhile having that turned on. The default win bets. So in a reward bet, you can have obviously win bets and exotic bets when you put your bets on. Your win bets can be set up to be a variety of options. It is dependent on your race. We are looking right now at a Goulburn race on a Monday, and the only two options which LuxBet has for win betting on that race are LuxDiv and fixed. I tend to keep it on LuxDiv. I actually think that's the best option in the marketplace. It's a best of 4, which refers to the best price of the 3 totes, and also the starting price. Now, since the industry is starting to use a new measure of starting price, the starting prices are much more accurate and probably more realistic than what used to happen with the starting prices being an average of what was happening on track. And because there's not that many bookmakers on track anymore, the starting prices used to be a little bit away from reality, but now that's not the case. So that's made the LuxDiv option probably even more preferable to use than just a pure fixed option. Certainly, I think overall LuxDiv is a way to go. Those best of 4 options with any operator. The exotic bets, you have a choice of putting them into the Super Tab pool or the New South Wales pool. I typically have it set to be New South Wales. There's a small percentage of advantage by having it put into New South Wales, which I won't go into detail here, but It really doesn't make too much difference, and it swings around about. Sometimes you'll find that the Quinella pays more in a Super Tab pool, or sometimes it'll be better in the New South Wales pool. So it's really up to personal preference there. The other option here is around your win bets. So if the way this option works is that LuxBet has a minimum of 50 cents for exotic bets, like a lot of operators do. So typically you won't have any issue if your win bet's being too small for RewardBet. The bigger issue you might have is that your exotic bets are below 50 cents. And here we offer 3 ways to cater for your exotic bets if they're below 50 cents. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the bet tutorial. So moving down the page here, we've got our stake, which is replicated from the top of the screen. Now, the area which I haven't really shown in detail is what happens here in this control. Now, this control section is replicating really what's happening on this screen here. So we just clear our selections, and I'll give you an example of how things are the same, and also the comparison of the top and bottom of the screen. So we choose numbers 1, 3 and 4 here. Because we got our position selected set to any, that's meaning that those 3 runners are chosen for first, second and third as a default. And you can see here that's replicated first, second, third, first, second and third. However, if you want to maybe Red Dream, you think it's a good standout to win, and Wake the Stars here and Ilian, you think they're probably better chances come second and third, you can just simply turn off them for first, and now you have a standout of Red Dream and the other 2 runners to come second and third. And if we go down to the bet preview in RewardBet, which you should always have turned on, and I had just turned it off in the example there, but you always want this option turned on. This shows you the runners you've selected. You can see here we've got Red Dream selected first, second and third, and the other runners are only selected for second and third. It gives you a summary of what your outlay is going to be. Here we've got $85 going on to the win bet, which is just 1 runner because we had Red Dream selected as a runner for first, and our Quinellas and exactas and trifectas are being proportionally staked using RewardBet's professional betting algorithms there. Now if we head back up to the top of the screen, and let's just clear our selections, you can actually do everything you need to do down here as well as above the screen at the top. So we can select runners here, or we can select them down here. If you click on the green tick, it's just the same as clicking a runner up the top. Everything gets selected for first, second and third, and it's just the same as if you clicked them up here. The only difference is that down here you can kind of turn things on and off for different runners, and you might just want to come down here and click what you want, or else you can do the same up at top, but in order to turn things on for second and third or first and second, you have to use this before you select a runner. So to give you a quick example here, if I want to choose Awake the Stars and Ilian again for second and third, how do I do it above the screen? Well, first of all, choose Red Dream because we want it for first, second and third. Then I choose the other 2 runners for second and third by going like that. How would I do it below the screen? As I showed you before, you choose Red Dream first, second and third, and then you click here and here, and then you click here and here. So below the screen, depending on how many runners you have, it might be a few extra clicks, and if you're competent and used to using this control here, you can probably just reduce the number of clicks that you want to use to place your reward bet. And at the end of the day, reward bet is all about trying to get your bets on quickly and smartly, and reducing the number of clicks is what we're all about, and that's where it's one of the big advantages, because RewardBet N+1 is the fastest betting interface in the world when it comes to clicking, and we've done comparisons and we've proved that you can't do better than what we have here. So that's a pretty good rundown of the main betting screen that you'll live in, we might say. And this screen Also works obviously on a mobile phone or a tablet. The extra things on this screen, there's not too many other options, is the settings area, where we're going to be adding more and more settings, but this is where your betting account is linked, and I've already linked mine there. If I go back to change password, I can do that, and I can also set up custom reward levels, and we'll talk about custom reward levels in another tutorial. That's a topic in itself. The My Bets is the other area which you'll go to quite a lot. So you'll really flip between the betting screen and My Bets, which is the way most people operate RewardBet. And what My Bets does is gives you a really great summary of your betting through RewardBet. And in fact, this is superior to logging on to your bookmaker's account, because RewardBet can create a lot of bets, and you might notice if you log into your bookmaker's account, such as LuxBet, and look at your bet history, you can get pages and pages and pages of bets. And it's really hard to actually get an idea of where your betting is for the day. You just kind of get lost in transactions, you might say. So the My Bets history is a far superior way to display your betting transactions through RewardBet. You can see here, when I click on My Bets, it brings up the previous day, which was actually yesterday. I had some bets, and I had 2 reward bets here. One on Narrowcourt Race 2 and one on Race 3. I had a nice little win here. It was a bronze reward bet, so I wasn't totally confident with my selections, but at the end of the day I ended up getting back about $100 for my $25 outlay. And you can see here, this is the power of LuxDiv. So when I put the bet on, and in the bet receipt here we give you the time that you did put the bet on. So you can see here I put that bet on 11:42 in the morning, which was well before that race started. And I think it must have been going out for the day. The market gauge was 43% when I put my bets on, which is across those 2 runners, and I chose obviously a bronze reward bet. My estimated return, if I got first, would have been $52, and if I got first and second, which I did in this race, it would have been $81. And you can see we actually got more than the estimate, and 95% of the time you will get more than the estimate in RewardBet, which is great for you as a punter. And this is the power of LuxDiv here. Number 1, Moon Arrow, when I put the bet on, it was showing the price source was LuxBet fixed. It was showing $8.50 of LuxBet, and it ended up paying $11, so that's way more than $8.50, and that's why I got back $67 versus the estimated return of $52. The Quinella dividend and the Exacta dividend I had set to New South Wales, so I got back those dividends there. And the total return was around about $100, so it's much better than what we estimated, which is a good thing. The bet summary is what you see after you've placed your bets, and that will reinforce what your breakdown is. But after you place a bet, really most people just watch the race and then they go back to My Bets to ensure that the transaction has gone through. So that's really a very good overview of the main screen of RewardBet. As I said, there's going to be quite a few additional features being added to RewardBet, and we've got about 100 new features in the pipeline. So you will notice some changes, but they're all going to be for the better. And the ability to add in extra features through our suggestion box, which I suggest that you do take advantage of, will really help you out. So thanks for watching. It's a good overview of our RewardBet screen, and have a look at some of the other details tutorials where we go into much more detail about some of these features, because you'll learn a lot. Thank you.